So our opening production, an early opera by Mozart, who happens to be my favorite composer. What can we say about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? He lived from 1756 to 1791. He's often referred to as the greatest composer the world has ever known. He was a child prodigy who traveled throughout Europe as a child, performing throughout all the great courts. He was a favorite among European audiences of his time. People often refer to that period in his life as a time when he absorbed all of the musical influences of Europe. So thus, his mature works have a kind of German architecture to the music, French elegance, and let's say an Italian spirit of singing, an Italian tunefulness. So his mature works were this wonderful mixture of all of the great influences that he absorbed as a composer. We know that he was always eager for the next opera commission. And we know that from his letters, that he couldn't wait to compose his next opera. One gets the impression that opera was a particular passion of his, something that brought out a unique, deeply human vein in his music. He was incredibly skillful at musical characterization and dramatic truth, and this is profoundly evident in his great masterpieces. He was an incredibly prolific composer, composing masterworks in choral music and solo music, solo piano music and chamber music, symphonic music. So he was an astounding genius that walked the earth for only a short period of time. In his short lifetime, he composed over 600 works, and his work has influenced philosophers and musicians and artists over the course of the past 2 centuries. We're doing an early work of Mozart's entitled The Royal Shepherd, or Il Re Pastore. This is a relatively simple tale concerning Alexander the Great, who liberates a tiny kingdom known as Sidon from a tyrant emperor. And the search begins for who is the true leader, who is the true king, emperor, that should inherit the throne. So it's essentially a very simple story about love versus duty. But in the hands of Mozart, it becomes a richly human work, and one that is particularly joyful and celebratory. With this commission, Mozart had the best singers in Europe at his disposal. This was a specific commission as an entertainment for the son of Maria Theresa, who was visiting Salzburg. And he created a vocal showcase of the highest order. This opera is one blockbuster aria after another. It's an incredibly virtuosic piece with one stunning vocal showcase. The aria L'amero sarò costante is from this opera. That is an aria that is often done outside of a typical opera production. It's often done as a concert piece, and it's often considered one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful aria that Mozart ever composed. So some of you may know the aria L'amero sarò costante. As I mentioned, this simple story of love versus duty in the hands of Mozart ends up being actually a very human and very touching fable, complete with a double wedding at the end of the opera. So I chose this opera to open our second season on a very joyful note, on a very celebratory note. It's the perfect summer entertainment, and I hope to see you at Lincoln Hall.